So you can either write a $100 check to the IRS, or you can write an $80 check to the IRS and put $20 in a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not already doing this, you should be deferring as much income as you can to a retirement plan to reduce your taxes. High-producing agents have a tax problem, and they can solve it with, to some degree, with real estate itself. But sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have taxable income and you're writing a check to the IRS. But there's a lot of people who make a lot of money who don't pay any income taxes.
Mr. Joey DiDomenico, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Don, for having me on.
It's great to have you on the show, for sure. Joey is the founder of Aspira Plans, so we'll talk about exactly what that is and what that means. And we'll start a little bit, though, with your background for people who don't know a ton yet about your story. So why don't we start with, did you grow up in Tampa Bay, which I know you didn't? How did you find yourself here? And then tell us a little bit about your experience in the investment world and what started Aspira.
So it started back when I graduated from college, went to San Diego State, went straight into the Merrill Lynch training program to be a stockbroker. Did that for about 10 years. I worked for Merrill and then worked for Citi. After that, I was a stay-at-home dad for 5 years, which was my hardest job I've ever done.
Sure.
Hung out with housewives for about 5 years and raised 5 kids. You got 5 kids too?
I do, with a 6th on the way.
That's amazing.
We just keep being fruitful, my man. What can I say?
Yeah, I don't get beat in that department very often. So congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So after that, I had to go back to work. Started a company that helped people custody private investments in retirement plans.
Okay.
I'd heard of it before. When I was at Merrill, I had a client who said, hey, Joey, I'm going to use my IRA and I'm going to buy this startup company. And I told him, you can't do that. You know, you can't just go onto your Merrill account and click on send the money out to a startup investment.
Sure.
And he said, no, you can do that. There's this company in Ohio, and it's a trust company, and they'll allow me to do it. So I was fascinated by that and ended up investing in the same startup he did, and it actually did really well. So I kind of tracked the system along. And then when I needed to go back to work, because I had built up, I call it a skirmish chest. Didn't have a war chest, just a skirmish chest. And I need to go back to work, and I thought, I just don't want to go back to the brokerage firms again. You know, we charge a lot of fees for not a lot of service in the stock brokerage industry back then especially.
Sure.
I think it's a little better now.
Yep.
But I didn't want to pitch stocks on the phone anymore and do managed portfolios. And so I'd started a company that ended up being purchased by a New York crowdfunding portal back in 2019. So I had to go there in September 2019 and help, situate this company within their company, and the pandemic hit. I had this idea of what New York City was going to be like for me. I'm from a small town in Seattle. I get to go to New York. I get to live in Midtown Manhattan. This is going to be awesome. And Don, it sucked. It was terrible.
Couldn't even leave the place. All the restaurants were shut down for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Once they opened up, everything was just piled over into the streets, I think, at that point, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it got
They
cold.
were pretty hammered down with the masking policy and everything like that.
And I would see on TV down here in Tampa, everyone's walking around with no mask on, like there's no pandemic.
Right.
And I'm just huddled up in this little wooden shack on the side of the road with, cement trucks going by and sirens. I'm trying to eat my dinner with a little heater right here and freezing.
It wasn't your ideal situation, huh?
No, it was bad.
Expectations were not met.
They were not met. But I had a pretty good exit, so financially I was okay. And then I needed to go somewhere. So I met my wonderful girlfriend now. I've been with her for 3 years now.
Yep.
Her name's Gypsia. She's from Venezuela.
Well, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
Gypsia.
Gypsia.
Shout out to you, Gypsia.
Yeah. So we came down here together a year ago, and we love Tampa.
Yeah.
I don't think people fully appreciate how wonderful it is down here. It's warm. You can park. Anywhere you drive, there's going to be free parking and parking spaces available.
Right.
That was unheard of.
Especially in Seattle or New York, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Seattle has the second highest parking rates in the nation behind New York.
Right.
So the only places I've ever been is places you can't park.
Right.
It's like, why can't I pick somewhere that's warm and I can park?
There you go.
So that's why I'm here. Parking.
So you're home now, huh?
I'm home. Yeah.
So did Aspira Plan start in New York?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a non-compete for a while. So essentially what happened was my company in Seattle opens up IRA accounts for 401ks and IRAs. and crowdfunding portals were just coming online and scaling. And the problem that the crowdfunding portals were having at the time is it was a manual process. So the company that ended up acquiring mine had thousands of accounts, and they had 3 people in operations with these thousands of accounts. But half of their time was spent with 2% of their accounts, which were retirement accounts. So they had 40 different IRA custodians. Every time money had to go out for your return of principal or interest payments, you'd have to go out to these 40 different custodians and fill out a form that calls it a return of principal or interest payment or transfer, and it bogged them down.
Okay.
So they needed an in-house IRA department that just managed it so they could manage these IRA accounts in the same fashion that the taxable investors could, so they could scale that part of it too.
We had about a month ago or so, we had a gentleman on the show. His name was Dutch Mendenhall, and he specialized in crowdfunding strategies.
I saw that.
And so you just mentioned crowdfunding, and it was part of, I guess, your partnership in some ways. So how is that? Does that still play a role in what you do with Aspira Plans and working with different crowdfunding platforms?
Not so much anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've kind of exited from that because that's more of an institutional solution for people.
Yeah.
So back a long time ago, even 30, 40 years ago, they had great systems around opening up an IRA account and buying a mutual fund or a stock. And you just go online just like a regular taxable investor, open up your account, do electronic transfer between your Merrill account and your Schwab account, and then move the securities and cash within a day and a half with the depository trust company. It's all very smooth.
Yeah.
But if you have an alternative investment, you just can't do that.
Yep.
You're starting to be able to do that now because those crowdfunding portals have got to the economic scale to where they can invest in the technology they need to be able to allow people to open up an IRA account online.
Yep.
So they're pretty much taken care of, but real estate's not there. So if you want to purchase real estate, you need to go to a company like mine, and we make it as seamless as we can, but it's still easier to go to Fidelity, open up an IRA, and buy a mutual fund.
Is there a difference between what you do and your model compared to other traditional self-directed IRAs?
Yeah, it's a big difference.
What would be those differences?
We're way better at it, for
There you
starters.
go.
Okay, but we allow people to have checkbook control over a checking account that will be the owner of the real estate.
Okay.
This is different than having the IRA itself custody it.
Okay.
So the vesting on any asset that you purchase for a retirement plan is, let's say it's Fidelity Investments, custodian, FBO for the benefit of Don Hill's IRA. So it's one that's super long, it's cumbersome. But that is the actual owner of that real estate. Fidelity won't do it, so you'll never see Fidelity on a title.
Okay.
But you'll see Equity Trust Company, for example, Millennium Trust Company, custodian for the benefit of Don Hill's IRA account. Or that IRA can own a trust. And that trust has a trustee, which is you. And that trust has a bank account that you can open up anywhere you want to. Now, you still have all of the benefits and the constraints of an IRA account with that trust because it is owned by an IRA account. But that trust gives you the flexibility to go out and do the business that you need to do, including down payments, make interest payments, collect rents, make improvements, all with you direct control with a checkbook.
And that's your model, or that's the self-directed IRA model?
That's my model.
That's your model. Got it.
So I wasn't the one who actually thunk it up, but I'm the one who made it work well with my old company, WealthFlex. So with WealthFlex, it became like a McDonald's where you go in, everybody gets the exact same type of trust. And then that's why the crowdfunding portals liked it, because it gave them a vehicle much like a LLC or like any type of entity account. It can go into their platform and be mass manufactured.
Sure, got it.
So, but with this, you get a trust that you can control directly to buy your real estate, which is nice. So your IRA has one single asset that is your trust, and you can name the trust.
Okay.
So you can name it the Don Hill, Real Estate Trust.
And you can have multiple investments and assets all under that trust.
That's right.
Okay. Now, what types of clients? So obviously you're partnered with Tampa Bay Road Producers, and you know that we work a lot with the top producing agents that are in the market. what type of clients do you find that you've been serving most regularly with your brand, and where do real estate agents fit into that? Is there a reason why, in your opinion, like the real estate agent has been a good market for you, a good niche for you that you enjoy working with them?
Yes. So with the real estate agents and the brokers, there is this $42 trillion in retirement plans. It's amazing. There's $14 trillion in IRA accounts, which is an astounding number. And then you've got millions of 401ks being enrolled into IRAs every year. And most of those are over $100,000. And most of those, that's money in motion. So when somebody retires or they change jobs, that money's moving, they get this notice or they have in the back of their mind, I need to do something with this. They're not just considering where they're going to custody that IRA, where they're going to transfer it to, but what are they going to do with this? Because it comes as cash. So here they get a $237,000 cash transfer to somewhere, and they're like, what do I do? So if you're a real estate agent and you have a contact, let's say you've known for a long time, they haven't been particularly interested in moving, so not a great target market for you there. They don't do real estate investments, so mostly you just hang out with them and do whatever you do. You know, you mow the lawn, you see them out there, you talk to them. But this is something new in that this person has $237,000 in cash, and they could buy investment real estate with it. And when you bring it up to them, they're very interested in that. And the first thing they're going to tell you is, wait, my broker told me I can't do it, so sorry, I don't have any money outside of my 401k. I just have $500,000 in cash in my 401k. It's like, no, you actually can do that.
Sure.
So you can take that money and even borrow money with your IRA account and purchase and hold or buy and flip or lend money on a real estate transaction, buy trust deeds. There's really no limit.
Buy notes.
You can buy notes, non-performing notes, performing notes, whatever you want to do. The only thing is there are some constraints to your IRA that a lot of people don't really understand, because anything you're not allowed to do in your Fidelity account, for example, they just don't let you click on it and do it. But with your trust, you logistically and physically have the ability to write yourself a check and go to the grocery store. That's a prohibited transaction. So there is an arm's length with your trust.
Okay.
It has to be an investment.
Okay. And so what types of alternative investments do you find that you're executing for your clients most often? Is it revolving around real estate most of the time?
Probably 80% real estate related.
Okay.
Either buy and hold. Single-family residences is by far the most popular.
Sure.
So people are buying multifamily. Lending and other things around real estate are all open season for a retirement plan.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the other 20% would make up what? Just like
Weird
crypto
things.
or other things like that?
The weirdest things. People
Buying gold coin, gold bullion, or something like that?
Oh, yeah. All of the above. Racehorse. You can buy a racehorse.
I got it. The sport of kings, they say.
That's right. Somebody bought a truckload of palm oil in South America
Interesting.
and had it driven up here and sold it in his IRA account.
Huh.
So there's no end. Do you ever talk to people who are really wealthy and you ask them how you made their money? And then they just give you the strangest, most esoteric story about what they got into somehow, and it turned into millions of dollars for them. I see people like that all the time.
Yeah.
People are weird. And
Yeah, I've heard some of those stories. I'm always like, how come that hasn't happened to me yet? You know, one of these days, Joey. One of these days.
Yeah.
Maybe it starts with this conversation. Who
Yeah.
knows? And so your experience in working with agents specifically, if I heard you correctly, is may or may not be actually helping them with, you know, investments in terms of their own funds and their own accounts and what they might be interested in working with
That
you
too.
on. But it sounds like it's also that network, right? It's
Yes.
the client base that they're working with where they can add more value in many ways than just a traditional real estate transaction, right? By being able to have you as a resource so that they can say, hey, I have a guy who, you know, goes above and beyond for his clients who could help you in this one area. You might want to have at least a conversation with him, right?
That's right.
Is that fair to say?
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not so complex that the agent can't learn enough about it themselves to put themselves out there as somebody who helps people use retirement plan money to invest in real estate.
Yep.
And it will differentiate you, because this is something that a lot of people have not heard from their agents before. So they may have an agent who's been around a lot, and they've maybe used them in the past, but then they heard you speaking, or they heard you from a friend that is an expert in helping people use retirement plan money to invest in real estate. Now they want to talk to you. Before, they didn't really care.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Anything that you can do as an agent that's going to add more value and, like you said, distinguish you a little bit differently, I think is a win, right?
Right.
How to separate yourself from the other, God knows how many. We know there's over 17,000 agents just in Tampa Bay alone that are probably doing basic, boring, traditional real estate, right?
That's right. And there's more.
Yeah.
So at WealthFlex, for example, we had so many accounts that nobody got to talk to me. It was a little bit of an ego boost when I would see an account come through the rolls and I didn't recognize the name, which means that I didn't have to go out and get that account. That means they found me, and then my team and my system opened the account for them, and they've been around for a couple of years with the company, and I haven't seen their name before. Like, okay, there's a lot of people around here.
Yeah.
But that's bad in a way that that person never got a chance to talk to me because I knew more about it than anybody else in the company.
Right.
But they never got to talk to me.
And you can shape the right expectations, and you're just never really sure what those expectations might be or what they were told, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And they didn't get the true experience from talking to somebody directly that understands it as well as I do, can see what their situation is, and can help them utilize the right resources and go down the right path.
Yep.
At my company now, at Aspire Plans, here's the advantage. If you come to Aspire Plans from the internet, you found me through some type of Google search or something, or associate networking company. So you're not going to get to talk to me. But if your real estate agent is part of this networking group, they could say, oh, Joey's part of my networking group. We can talk to him. I'll give you his cell phone number. Call him up. And he was telling me that you could do this, and I like that, and you're similar to this. So why don't you talk to him about that, and he'll get you set up.
Yeah.
So it's another arrow in your quiver as an agent to be able to be connected to me and to you. It's great to be connected to you.
To clarify, too, for the type of client that you would help, so does this have to be somebody who has a 401k generally set up through their years of being an employee with a big institution, or has somehow created some sort of a retirement account somewhere?
Yes.
That's a prerequisite, right?
Yeah, they have to have some money somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're gonna need an IRA or a 401k because there's contribution limits. So you can't just load up a retirement plan in year one. There's the thing called a defined benefit plan, and I've helped people set these up too. If you are older and you have a high income and you do not have a lot of retirement plan savings, the cool thing is they will let you load it up in a couple of years and take a current year tax deduction on $1 million in a defined benefit plan contribution. So a 401k and an IRA is called a defined contribution plan.
Yep.
They're going to limit how much you can contribute to that plan, and then that will build up. A defined benefit plan is how old are you, how much do you make, what are your retirement plan balances now, and you could load that up with a benefit today because you're going to need this amount of money through your lifetime, as the federal government is going to give you a tax deduction in that current year of loading up your entire retirement all at one time.
Yeah.
So it's best for somebody self-employed, or maybe an actor who has a massive amount of income in one single year and probably won't after that.
Yep.
Or I haven't had it before that.
Or an athlete or somebody like that,
Right.
possibly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That
But
makes sense.
But for most people, they had to have been working at a company for a while, and
Right. When you determine what alternative investment these funds are going to be invested towards, is that something where it's like a consultation process where somebody, comes to you and says, I have this money, I want to do something with it, and you can lay out strategies that you either have done or have helped other clients with? Or is it most people already kind of know, like, I come to you and I want to invest in an apartment building, or I want to invest in a whatever, and they already have that strategy in place. You're just really executing the mechanical step of the money transfer. Is that how it's more, or how does that work usually?
It depends.
Okay.
So a little bit of both. So if you already know exactly what you want to do, you can go to aspireplans.com and open up your account, and you're already on your path. You wouldn't need to talk to anybody if you didn't want to. You'll have a trust set up. You have custody of your retirement plan. You have a bank account. You got a checkbook, and you're ready to go. Other people, they don't really know what they're going to invest in. Most of our accounts come in already because they have their first investment picked out.
Yep.
So now they want to know, how do I do this?
Yep.
I know I want to.
How do I execute it?
Yeah. So, if you're If you're a real estate agent, you can take on that consultation responsibility from the outset, and it's going to help build your relationship. But also along the way, when you get to the point where you really need somebody who understands the code and case law and strategies, just loop me in, and I'd be happy to talk with them and their customers.
Yeah, I mean, I see it, as we mentioned a little bit before, as a huge opportunity for a real estate agent to almost position themselves as like a wealth partner, right? With that person. Not that they would position themselves as a licensed financial planner or anything like that, but the idea of, hey, I'm really grateful I was able to help you find this property. Just want to let you know that through my network, I have this, opportunity for people who do have, and you kind of know as a real estate agent who has money and who doesn't, right? This might be a way for you to continue building your portfolio and so forth, and that's an easy bridge to having you as a resource that can come in. So I can see the value in there for sure.
Sure.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. You mentioned earlier too how with some of your earlier firms, and I think in general, there's a lot of these hidden fees, right? That people don't necessarily know about unless they really get nitty gritty with the fine print, and even if they do, sometimes they can't even really disclose what the real fees are, right? When they figure out these plans.
Yes.
That's why you do see a bigger movement, I feel like nowadays, with like the whole fiduciary movement, and people even like commercials nowadays are trying to advertise that way. So how does that work with Aspira plans? What does your fee structure generally look like? From what you can share? Are you a fiduciary? Do you fall into that classification? What does that look like?
So we're not a fiduciary.
Okay.
And the thing is, some accounts make us more money than other accounts. And we just don't know how it's going to go when they come in the door. And so many of my competitors will give you a price sheet. And if you need this, here's an extra fee. If you need a special expedited service, you get a fee. If you need a contribution, a distribution, a rollover, if you need a custodian transfer versus a distribution rollover, is a different fee, and all these different things. But it's impossible to know exactly every step you're going to need for what you want to do.
Yeah.
So they're giving you a sheet that basically says, I don't know what it's going to be. It could be a lot or it could be a little. We'll find out, won't we? It's like, no, that's not how it should go.
The more you use me, the more it'll cost you.
Exactly. Exactly. But people don't really know how many of those services on a list. We just have a flat setup fee. So it's $800 to open up your account, and it's $300 a year. And then after that, any other fees that you incur are going to be somewhere else. And banks love fees, and they love to hide fees. And they love to surprise you with fees. All the banks really want to do is make sure that they're in compliance with what the rules are, and push that limit. I mean, they will do things. There's consultants that go out and they show banks how to get higher bounce check fees or late fees. There's these bounce transfers where if you transfer money from one credit card to the next, there's no interest for 12 months unless you miss a payment.
Then the interest goes to 30%.
Exactly. So they tried to get through Congress the rules to be able to send the statements out later so they don't notice it and pay it late so they can start charging interest. And then they pushed that to the very limit, and they can't send you the statement the day before it's due. But what they can do is they can change the billing cycle and then send you a notice in 1 month that says the billing cycle changed. And then what they'll do is they'll send you the notice of when it's due, but you're not really expecting it at that time because it used to be at a different time of the month. And then you miss your payment because of that.
It's crazy.
And they're doing a data analysis of what this is with business intelligence. They can find out by changing this cycle of your account to a different day, the percentage of people who will be late will be this. So here's the day of the month they should do based on this type of person in this area.
It's wild.
Don't use data for that. That's not what data is for.
It's unbelievable.
Use data to make people
Forget
happy.
about serving your client. Let's figure out the biggest way, in the most hidden way that we can screw them.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
It's terrible. And there are super rich people around a boardroom table talking about how they could get this done for their bank. And it's like, I don't want to make money that way. If that's what I have to do to make money, I'll do some other job.
It's insane. It really is.
Yeah.
So it sounds like your approach to it is to just be everything out front. Here's what it is.
Right.
Here's what you could expect from a fee structure, what you'd be paying for, and there's not going to be a bunch of hidden surprises down the road.
No. Now, at Fidelity, your IRA is free because they make money from margin interest and trading markups and mutual fund 12b1 fees, and they've got a great model. Banking and brokerage firms, they make so much money, they're printing money.
Yeah.
But my company doesn't make any money from the investments that you do.
So if the investments are growing, you're not necessarily getting anything off of that either.
Exactly.
Those profits are all just that investor.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they'll keep their account.
Which is different than, I think, my understanding anyway of like a fiduciary model is they are making money off of your account growing, right? That's their incentive, and that may or may not be a good or bad thing, but they are taking a cut, right, off of the growth of the portfolio, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. That's interesting. So it's cool to know that, again, that open disclosure, I think, is the key, right? To have that open conversation. And I know we talked a little bit about how you work with real estate agents and what that relationship could look like, but it really isn't just tied to real estate agents. Even in our network, we work with mortgage lenders and title companies and home inspectors and roofing companies. And a lot of these business owners have, their own retirement plans, right, set up, or also have clients in their own line of work who they know are wealthy clients who could also probably benefit from having the extra vehicle, right? The extra resource.
That's right.
To be able to go down.
High producing agents have a tax problem, and they can solve it with, to some degree, with real estate itself. So for somebody who doesn't pay any income taxes right now, which sounds weird, but there's a lot of people who make a lot of money who don't pay any income taxes.
Yeah.
So we don't want to get into them. Yeah, legally.
Yeah. Just writing things off properly and having a good accountant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have taxable income and you're writing a check to the IRS for income from cash that you made that year. And for those people, a good CPA is going to say, defer some of that into retirement plan and pay less income taxes. Especially if you don't need that cash, it might as well go into a retirement account that you can invest. So if you're not already doing this, you should be deferring as much income as you can to retirement plan to reduce your taxes. And eventually that will get to the place where now you can have that trust account participate alongside your other taxable money with your investment programs.
So when you say defer as much income as you can, are you talking about on the back end, like instead of cutting a check, like you said, in a tax payment, when you do file your taxes, that's the point where you can defer a certain percentage of the income so that check would be smaller, and even though that income has already been brought in and you may or may not have already spent that income on whatever your business operated, you can still, on paper, defer a certain percentage into this plan. Am I hearing you correctly?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So you can either write a $100 check to the IRS, or you can write an $80 check to the IRS and put $20 in a bank account. That's better.
Yeah, totally. No, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize that was an option, so I appreciate you bringing that up. Because I'm kind of in that boat myself. I'm a 1099, always have been, and I try to legally make sure I pay what I need to pay in taxes, but we write off what we can and go from there.
Self-employment income taxes.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. So for our network with real producers, again, Joey could be a great resource for really any of our partners that I know follow our show, or of course the agents themselves who are working with their clients or themselves as they make big commissions, since we do work with some of the top producers throughout the course of this market. So for the time we have left, we're coming down to a couple minutes here. So I want to give a little bit of your personal background too for people who don't know you as well. I know you said you came from Seattle. What do you love to do for fun? What keeps you busy when you're not just hanging out with the 5 kids?
I ride motorcycles.
Oh, really?
I used to think I liked to go on long rides on my motorcycle, but what I realized is I like to go on a long ride to somewhere warm and ride down there and then ride back.
Yeah.
So I got rid of the part where I have to drive through a bunch of cold and rain. And I just went to the place where I like to be, which is riding motorcycles around here. Is some of the best motorcycle riding I've seen in the country, and I've been riding all around.
Yeah,
I do
can see that. Hop on 75 South and just go down to Marco Island, Naples, if you really want to have a long ride all the way to Key West, huh?
I've done that. I've
Have
driven
you?
to Key West. It was beautiful. Got my headphones in.
Yeah, that seems peaceful. That would be cool.
Yeah, I love doing that.
So what type of bike you got? Harley, something else?
I have a BMW K1200S, so
Okay.
it's sport touring.
Has this been a hobby for a while?
I've been doing it ever since college. Yeah.
Really?
I've always had a motorcycle ever since I was in college.
Wife doesn't get nervous that think anything could happen?
No, she does.
Yeah.
But I'm very safe.
There you go. That's the
Defensive
key.
driving. It's if you concentrate and you imagine that all of the cars around there are actually trying to hit you.
Yeah.
What would you do if they made a move to come at you to hit you, and then you just plan that? You'll be pretty safe.
True. That's the mindset I try to have as a driver too. My goal is to get away from other cars as much as I can, right?
Yes.
In a safe way. But
Right.
that's usually how accidents would happen, is being around other vehicles. So
Oh, yeah.
if I could get away from them, I'm in a good spot, a much better spot.
When I'm on a motorcycle, I find a gap in the highway and I sit in that gap, even if it's not as fast as I want to go. I'll just sit there because it's the safest place to be.
So you're not the type of biker who's like, when cars are parked in traffic, you're going in between every single one? That seems a little crazy to me.
It sounds fun.
One car making one little move and boom, you're like tossed over the top of it.
It's just not a good long-term plan.
Yes.
It's a great short-term plan. So I see young people on these motorcycles, and I'm like, you're having a lot of fun for a very short amount of time.
Right.
Because eventually that will catch up to you.
Yeah.
So I want to do this for,
And when it does, hopefully you have another shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm a very bad automobile driver. Hopefully USAA Insurance is not watching this, but do not insure me. I'm bad. I've had accidents that are my own fault. I get speeding tickets. I don't pay attention. I don't stop fully at stop signs.
Better on the bike, huh?
Yeah, I'm just much better on the bike because I'm in the mindset. I'm in the now. Sometimes you just got to concentrate on your breathing, think about this very moment. That's all you do, because you can't control the past. You can't control the future.
Yeah. What about with your family? What type of stuff do you guys love to do?
My kids are always doing something crazy. If it's music.
How old are they now?
Anywhere from a senior in high school to 26.
Okay.
And her biological clock is ticking, and she needs to have a baby right now. So there's that.
So no grandkids yet.
No grandkids yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the next step, I guess, in the evolutionary process.
I decided not to have grandkids, really.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You laid down the law on that
Yeah,
one?
I'm not going to have them.
And all your kids are on board with that, huh?
I haven't talked to him about it yet, so I should probably bring it up.
This might be the time. You might want to set those expectations early.
There we go.
So a couple rapid fire questions, right, for people to get to know you a little bit more too. Do you have a favorite book, author maybe, or seminar, or even podcast that you feel like has made an impact on you most professionally or personally?
A book called Blame It on the Broker. You can buy it on Amazon. It's written by me. So on my favorite subject.
Spoken like a true money man. Blame it on the broker. I like it. So I'm assuming this book is about why brokers are horrible for your portfolio. Is that am I warm?
Kind of. Well, what happened was when I was at Merrill, I worked with a number of Microsoft employees, and my typical employee was about 35, had a $40,000 salary, and anywhere from $10 to $50 million in Microsoft stock.
Okay.
Had 45 of those. And a lot of people would borrow against that stock and buy houses and cars and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The stock dropped from $120 to $35 overnight because of the antitrust lawsuit they had back in 2000. So that got crazy for people.
Yeah.
So I wrote a book about that. It's funny.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, cool. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Avatar.
Oh, that is a classic. I'm a fan too. You've seen Avatar 2 as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
What's it called? Way of the Water or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Our kids, maybe we showed it to them when they were a little bit too young because they weren't really a huge fan of the, what do they call themselves? The Navi people?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason. I think they would probably appreciate it a little bit more now as they're a little bit older. But at that point, I think it kind of spooked them a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. If you watch it too young.
Yes.
Star Wars scared the crap out of me when I was a little kid.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No, I did like the Avatar. I'm sure you've been to Disney then and seen the Avatar land out there at Disney Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah,
Love it.
They do a pretty good job with that. The attention to detail that they put into these parks is pretty amazing, actually.
It is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Probably pizza, like everybody else.
About to say, last name Di Domenico. There's got to be an Italian angle there somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Loaded up with some chicken, barbecued, whatever.
You're good to go.
I'll have it with anything.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, here's my last question for you. So when that day does come and you get to kind of just sit back, hopefully on that rocking chair and think back to your legacy and what you'd want to be most remembered for, what comes to mind as far as things that you think would be most important to you that you'd want to be remembered for?
God, family, country.
That order.
In that order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So, where do you go to church?
I don't really go to church.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your God is what? Bible?
Grew up Roman Catholic, went to church every Sunday.
Okay.
But I've been able to read the Bible. My son recently has really brought me back into the more Christian faith, more so
Nice.
than I was in the past. So that's nice to see, nice to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think important for the family.
Yes.
Does something to tie the family together for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I'm concerned for the country. So I'd like the country to do well.
Amen. Definitely worth prayer. That's
Yes.
for sure.
America.
So if somebody wanted to pick your brain a little bit more, Joey, just to learn more about how you can help them with growing their portfolio, or maybe they have a client who they know has the wealth and the means to be able to invest in alternative investments, but is not exactly sure how to do it.
Right.
I think there'd be a lot of service that you can bring to the table with your education. So what's the best way for someone to connect with you?
Probably email.
Okay.
Joey@aspiraplans.com.
Cool. Simple enough. You can also find Joey on our Tampa Bay Real Producers website and page. You'll see his contact information up there under the partner section that we have. And Joey has sponsored one of our panels before over at Whiskey Cake, and I'm sure we'll be involved in other events as well this year. So it was good to have you on the show, man. I think it was a cool. You're the first person we've brought on actually who specializes in this niche specifically. So I'm glad. We always like to have some different people on who have some education to share. We will end the episode the way we always do, which is a challenge to the audience. And so, what is one action step that you can take from our conversation today with Joey that'll help propel you forward personally or professionally? Because if you don't do that, then the time that you invested in listening to this, whether it's through any of your various podcast platforms or through our YouTube channel, it really doesn't hit home unless you take action, right? What is an action step that you can make? And maybe it's just as simple as having a conversation with Joey and following up a little bit on some of the things that we brought up that might have sparked, some questions for you. Maybe you need to pick up his book, Blame It on the Broker, and that might be a way to kind of learn more about the industry, or any of the other things that we touched on as far as how these alternative investments can work and what it can do for your clients, what it can do for yourself. In your portfolio. But Joey is a great resource for you out there to be able to tap into. So take action, do something that's going to help propel you forward personally and professionally as we move forward here. If you don't already subscribe to our podcast, just click the button below. That way you'll be notified every time a new episode drops, which is weekly. Again, we are the Top Producers Nation podcast, and our goal is to help agents become top producers in their desired markets all over the country. We also serve a great community of vendors like Joey that are part of our partner series who work professionally with agents and help support their businesses as well. So we will see you, of course, on the next episode of Top Producers Nation. See you then.